We have here three gentlemen, three speakers who are going to talk about the same. The next presentation, entitled Emergency Building Evacuation via Elevators, will be given by Jim Fortune of Fortune Consultants USA. Please welcome Jim Fortune.
My name is Jim Fortune. I'm an elevator consultant for the past 35 years. I initially worked for Alert Spates for many years in Denver, and then about 5 years ago I started my own company. And I've been very fortunate in having worked on the last three world's tallest towers, including Taipei 101 and Burj Dubai, which is now Burj Khalifa. So my talk today is about new concepts about how we need to look at using elevators to evacuate buildings. The history of elevator emergency operations has to do with not using the elevators to get people out. In the early days, we had some voluntary, what we call phase one recalls, which means that the elevators were set up with a series of smoke detectors. At any one smoke detector went off in an elevator lobby, all the elevators in that group would return. And the initial ANSI code had Appendix E, which required that. And then along came the 1973 Las Vegas MGM Grand Fire. And that was a catastrophe because apparently even though the elevators are equipped with phase one operation, nobody ever activated it. And in those days, they didn't have it set up with the smoke detectors. So these elevators continued to run. People would get on the elevators and think they pushed the first floor button and that they would go down the ground floor and escape the fire. But unbeknownst to them, the elevators were equipped with Otis touch buttons, which worked off body capacitance. And so a lot of these buttons were activated by the products of combustion, not heat. You always heard the heat-activated buttons. They weren't. They were products of combustion set them off. So the elevator was called to the floor with people on it. The doors opened and everyone was killed. So clearly, after that catastrophe, we needed to look at new ways of keeping people off of elevators. Thus was born the idea of phase one and phase two, and also the concept that you should not use elevators for evacuation. You've probably all seen these signs. They're all over the world. It says, in case of fire, use the stairs. Do not use the elevators. But most people in the public don't know why. They just say, oh, well, okay, I'm not supposed to use the elevators. The reason is the elevators won't be there to use because they'll typically return on phase one. Prior to 9/11, we always relied on high-rise buildings being equipped with stairwells. And when we got to beyond about 60 floors, people started saying, well, it's really not practical to have people go down 60 floors or 70 floors. So this created a phased evacuation. That means you would go to a holding floor and wait for further instructions. The problem is there was only typically two stairwells per building. Too slow, you get in the stairwell and you're lucky to go 1 minute per floor. They're too crowded, you have people coming above you and below you going into the same stairwell that runs the full height of the building. And they're really impractical in mega high-rise buildings. I don't know how many people in this room have ever walked down stairs, but it's actually easier to walk upstairs than it is down, particularly 25, 40 floors. Your legs give out, and you can't possibly do it. And also, the theory is there's no way for the firefighters to get in the building other than the stairwell. So here you have people coming out and down the stair, and the emergency responders are trying to get in the same stairwell to go up. So you have a tremendous traffic conflict. And then we had 9/11, World Trade Center 1, 2 in the United States. Prior to that, we had a bombing in 1993, and I had I don't know, it was a fortunate experience, but I was in the building when the bomb went off. We were working on the modernization of the elevators. We were on the 36th floor and sitting at a conference table, and all of a sudden the whole building moved. Well, having been from California, I knew that wasn't an earthquake because it just moved once. And there no announcement, no anything. So we were just about ready to go back to work. Somebody came running in the lobby and said, oh, the stairwells are filling up with smoke and the lobbies are filling up with smoke. Well, if you know anything about high-rise buildings. And so knowing that in fact, the funny part about it, the guys that were working there in